It is the 19th of May.
This is The Warning.
We must talk about the insanity that broke loose late on Sunday night in another meltdown on social media by the untreated psychiatric patient that works in the Oval Office. America's Nero, our dime store Mussolini, the Donald, a braggart and cheap Queens hustler through the make-believe lens of television, went from being a serially bankrupt buffoon to the all-American success, presiding over disputes between Gary Busey and Meatloaf. And so with that deep experience, and for a lot of other reasons, this man has come to dominate American politics for 10 long years. And we should think about the journey and how far we've come as a nation over that 10 years as if we were on a river. We don't know where the river ends, how long we'll journey down it. We can just sense how far we've come. And within that, I have a question. But if you think back to that moment where Trump came down the escalator to this, where he's calling for the imprisonment and the investigation and the punishment of Bruce Springsteen and Oprah and Bono and Beyonce because they dared to express an opinion, dared to offer a breath of dissent against the Donald, who many tens of millions of Americans, 100 million strong and growing at least, who think is a tyrant without comparison, except perhaps to King George III, who was the last man who declared himself sovereign. And it didn't work out well for him. Donald Trump should appreciate that in America, we don't lock up our political opponents. That in America, we have freedom of speech, and we have a rule of law, and we have due process. And the American soldier swears an oath of allegiance to the Constitution, not to a man, not to a person. Though Donald has become deluded because around him are all his many apostles and all his many disciples. And all of these people around him have deluded themselves and deluded him into believing that they are a type of new royalty in America, with Donald Trump as the king and them his dukes and duchesses at court, with a license to take from all of you. And that is what is going on. This incredible taking, this demand by the Republicans for a $5 trillion tax cut, eviscerating the federal government's ability to function across all of its responsibilities in the most complex society on earth. The shattering of trust, the social compact, the social safety net, its evisceration. All of that is happening right now at the exact moment when an American president is militarizing the southern border of the United States, and clowns who have no business in a position of responsibility and authority have incredible responsibility and authority and power running the FBI, America's internal police, with America's federal police force, with a long history of abuses, civil rights abuses, and abuses against the rights of American citizens who were unlawfully and illegally surveilled, including, for example, Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, two of the most unfit people in all of the Trump constellation of unfitness, Dan Bongino, a conspiracy nut and whack job of the highest scale and order, a Tulsi Gabbard grade whack job, a Pete Hegseth level incompetent, is the number 2 man at the FBI, working side by side with the grifter, Kash Patel, who has an enemies list as long as his greed, as long as his grift. Now, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are together with Maria Bartiromo of Fox News. All of these people are creations of Fox News, conspiracy theorists and whack jobs, all. They are part of a phalanx of nuttery and sinister malice that has arisen from this poisonous propaganda network and merged with real power. Now, we know that none of these people can be believed. None of these people can be trusted. All of these people are liars. All of these people are dishonest. Yet, they have great power and they have platforms that make billions and are protected in doing so by the power accrued from the revolving door between Fox News now and the U.S. government. Well, extremists that rose up on television shows have real power. And so when you think about the insanity of Donald Trump, our dime store Mussolini, our Nero, and this threat and the journey that we've been on for 10 long years, let me pose a question. What seems like it would be longer in duration? The journey from the escalator to the place where the President of the United States is promising to launch investigations against Bruce Springsteen and Oprah for daring to oppose him, or from this spot today where the investigations are being threatened to people being jailed, to people being picked up, people being swept up off the streets by masked federal agents. That could never happen in America without due process, right? Now, when you see a Jesse Waters or any of these people sneering, preening, smirking into the camera while they're stoking violence, while making claims ludicrously that Trump is being threatened and therefore the federal government must crack down on free speech, that the threats against Trump laid out in a picture of seashells somehow have risen to such a titanic level, a threat as grave as the Civil War and beyond, that all freedoms in America must be suspended to accommodate them. Does that seem right? Does that make sense? The idea that with each crisis that is manufactured by Trump himself, that the answer always seems to be an award of more power to Trump to control every aspect of a free person's life, including what they can think, what they can say, particularly when it comes to what Donald Trump may take. Because anybody who seems to want to speak out and say something is wrong that's going on is instantly targeted in Trump's America and called a terrorist or worse, some type of criminal at any rate. But the only crime I see is patriotic Americans asserting their First Amendment right. And that's no crime at all. In fact, that's an act of patriotism, as all dissent is and always has been. Sometimes people must fight. Sometimes people must stand up. Sometimes people must speak out. And now is such a time. And nobody should be intimidated by the unlawful threats, by the illegal operators who are abusing their offices, abusing the American people, abusing the law, and breaking it in many cases. Those people will face justice and accountability in America someday, because the American people will not tolerate this excess, will not tolerate this abuse, will not tolerate the outrageous arrogance that has led this cabal to believe that upon the 250th anniversary of the independence of the United States, that now is the time to cash it all in and to make the Trump family our king. No, this is The Warning.
I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. I invite you to join this community where I promise to be honest, blunt, and direct about what is happening in this country. America is in crisis. Follow and subscribe to this channel and on Substack. Thank you.